Welcome to Jazz Part 2. I'm kidding, it's a 3-day rental. I thought I'd use it as a bit. Wow, thank you all for coming out again. Sorry, I'm just placing things down now because that's what happens when you come out strong with a bit that you're not going to do anything with. Okay. Probably wondering why I'm wearing a suit. Same. Hi, everyone. My name is Demi Adejuyigbe. I identify as he, him, for anyone who wants to talk to me afterwards. Thank you so much for coming out to this, especially if you came to my presentation on Friday night, because it means you sat through this, and you decided, yeah, I'll give this guy another shot. To be honest, even though that was put on the schedule as a surprise, I was infinitely more prepared for that presentation than I am for this one. I joined the festival thinking I would deliver that, and then when I told Andy about it, he was like, oh, that sounds fun. If you want to do that Friday, then you could do your real talk on Sunday. And I was like, oh, yeah, my real talk, totally. I didn't know what I wanted to do for this. Partially because I don't know how to deliver a real talk where the purpose isn't just a laugh, but also because I don't know exactly what people most prominently know me for or see me as. I think I'm often described as a general content creator, but that feels like very sterile and reductive, like I'm just pumping out things as a job. And whenever I get more specific than just saying I'm a comedian, it's always something different to people. Sometimes people know me for one of my podcasts, formerly Gilmore Guys, currently Punch Up the Jam. Sometimes people know me for being a writer on The Good Place or on The Late Late Show. Sometimes people know me for one of my many video gags on Twitter, which are also on YouTube. Thank you, by the way, for coming. It's just a list of things I've done today. I do a lot of different things, and I've been doing so many other things lately that I am not known for, but I didn't want to focus on any one specific thing and risk not saying something for people who knew me as something else. So I ran through a few potential presentation topics. My first one was this. I didn't want to do this because it still felt like a joke presentation, so I moved on to my second idea, which was this. And honestly, the only reason I'm not doing this is because I only have 20 minutes. I could talk about this for 4 hours. You can't read it. You can't read this, but on the left over here, his tweet says, Steven Spielberg is a genius, let's beat the game. Let's beat the game is not a line in the movie. It is not a tagline. It is just a catchphrase he made up. I am obsessed with it. Again, though, this is still a joke presentation, so I moved on and thought I would do this. This is a little less of a joke. Jazz is good. And I'm sorry that some people thought I was truly dissing jazz. I love this stuff. But I was trying to think of my presentation idea on Friday night, and then a very crazy thing happened. Shortly after I got off stage, I got a hilarious email from Twitter notifying me that I had been suspended from Twitter. And the reason, oh, thank you so much. The reason they suspended my account is because 1 week ago, I tweeted at one of my best friends that I would fucking kill him because he jokingly insulted Paddington Bear. This is completely real, and they're technically right. I did threaten my friend. It's against the terms of service. I knew when I tweeted, I was like, there's a chance I'll get suspended for this. But also, like, come on. You gotta look at the context of things like this. So when that happened, I knew what my presentation has to be. This is not a joke. This is not a joke. It's crazy. This is serious. Get rid of the fucking Nazis. There's so many Nazis on Twitter. I didn't end up going with this, though, because even though it's not a joke, and I truly believe it, I'm just a lovable little scamp, it's a real idea that's still couched in the comfort of comedy. And that's because I'm realizing it's hard for me to believe in myself and work up enough confidence to talk about anything like I'm an expert on it, or to try and speak on anything without getting to fall back on the cushion of making someone laugh as like a sort of confirmation that I did something right. And that's not on just a stage, but in like everything I do. Which is, I think, an attitude I started adopting as a child as a defense mechanism, and then it just sort of flourished into a career before I could ever stop it. And thank you, that makes me feel good. No, And that's actually what my talk is about today. I got into comedy when I was really young as a way to make friends. I knew that being funny would make people like me because laughing feels good, and if someone makes you, like, nobody hates the person that makes them laugh. But now, I look back on the way that I used that comedy as an insulation as a kid, and I get a little sad. Because I thought that if I made fun of myself first, then things that can't be used to hurt me. So I turned my insecurities into comedy. I joked about being short. I joked about being pudgy. I joked about being black. I joked about being actually white and not really black. And it didn't stop anyone from making fun of me for those things. It just sort of eventually convinced my friends that they could also joke about those things, thinking that because I joked about it, it wouldn't hurt my feelings. It reminds me a lot of something that Hannah Gadsby said in her special Nanette, if you've seen it. And she said that building a career of self-deprecating humor isn't humility, it's humiliation. And that really resonated with me because I felt that even as a kid. So I started trying to think of other ways to be funny and without sacrificing my self-image. I became obsessed with comedy on like a formulaic level. I spent summers isolated in my bedroom teaching myself about film and learning to direct and edit pictures and videos through video tutorials for software that I just straight up pirated. It became my entire life. I'm paying for them now, so Adobe, if you're here, calm down. But it became my entire life. I have a very vivid memory of myself curled up under a blanket, watching the finale of Arrested Development live, and pausing and unpausing a video tutorial of a very old version of After Effects in between the commercial breaks. I would tell my friends that I couldn't come out and hang because of my parents, but the truth is my parents would have loved for me to get off the computer and go outside. I just thought that staying on the computer meant getting good at comedy, and getting good at making things in a way that would just impress people. I became part of internet forums full of people that shared my interests, and I sort of tested the waters there, trying to figure out what worked and what didn't. Here is a great picture from that period of my life. There's a chance that you might have seen this photo before. This image became a meme for a while and circulated very quickly on the internet outside of my control, and it very quickly became a racist meme, which is the bad part of it, but still it's a funny photo. That was in 2006. I was 13 years old. I'm 26 now, which means that I've spent half of my life doing this. And when I think about who I am now versus who I was as a 13-year-old, I realize that I've spent all 13 of those years still trying to throw myself into comedy as insulation, as a way of never letting people get close and keeping them at arm's length, and never needing to be open or vulnerable so I can never be hurt. I still do know that I've grown up, though. I'm happy to say I'm not the same little kid who humiliates himself as a way to make friends. In fact, the only jokes that I make with my friends now are the kind of jokes that will get me kicked off of Twitter. Insane. But I actually do want to talk about Twitter a little bit, because Twitter has been what I think is the biggest tool in helping me have a sustainable career. And it's allowed me to take all of these skills that I fostered as a kid and put them in a place where I get to use them in so many different ways, but I also get to use the community aspect of Twitter sort of like a feedback loop where I can explore other types of comedy and build my own sense of comedy by figuring out what's funny and what's been done before and what people don't like. But the same thing that makes Twitter great as a tool for my career also makes it the absolute worst invention of the 21st century. It is the ultimate monkey's paw because Twitter is just an incubator for everything, like good and bad. It's the sort of system that gracefully, thankfully, magnifies marginalized voices and almost socializes the creative playing field in a way that it works for everybody. But it's also the sort of system that magnifies all your little fuck-ups and makes them feel like these big life-ruining transgressions. It's the kind of place where you don't just make mistakes. You're either a perfect person or you're a bad person. And that's just on a tiny level, because it's also the system that gives us things like the alt-right or the weird reverse Cinderella scenario we got in the White House. Reverse Cinderella scenario is when a pumpkin turns into a person. I made it very small so you don't have to look at him too much, but yeah. Twitter makes it very easy to get a sense of how comedy evolves and how society evolves and moves in a progressive fashion. It lets you interact with people you might have never met in your tiny little insular communities and learn from them and empathize with them. For the people who spend their lives being beaten down, Twitter is a megaphone. And it's not 1999 anymore. Twitter is real life, and internet communities and friendships are real internet communities, are real communities and friendships. Twitter gets us all closer to each other. but it also becomes a megaphone for the worst people, for the outspoken, quote-unquote activists who want to aggressively wear their whiteness or their toxic masculinity as a badge of pride, who know that they can game the system for their own needs, for people who insist that they deserve a right to your attention or deserve a voice in your work because they admire your work, for people who don't just use comedy as insulation for their own insecurities, but as a Trojan horse to hurt others. If you've wasted as much time on Twitter as I have, you've probably heard of a phenomenon referred to as irony poisoning. It's an apt term. Irony poisoning is when you become so embroiled in ironic comedy that you sort of use it to detach yourself from any semblance of real emotion. Sometimes that means using your irony to just be an asshole. Sometimes it means shrouding yourself entirely in irony so that you're never open enough to be hurt. I find myself very often being scared of the former. And I think that as a comedian, I've sort of made myself the latter, because getting to use Twitter as a feedback loop has sort of taught me that comedy is safety, and vulnerability means getting yourself hurt. Being open and earnest means getting ridiculed for no other reason than daring to be open and honest, and it bleeds into parts of my life. Multiple times in my life, I've become very close friends with people, only for them to tell me about a year into our friendship that they are confused as to why I never open up to them. And all this time, I do think I'm opening up. I just am only staying surface level, letting myself be an open ear for my friends, and never diving into my own life without letting myself rest on a moment where I make them laugh. It's almost like I've sort of made comedy so much my personality that trying to go without it, even in quiet personal moments of my life, is uncomfortable for me. And for the last few years, I've been making comedy music pretty regularly. It was never something that I just sort of planned to do, but it was just a way that I decided to branch out from just writing in text to using these skills that I had fostered to make something bigger, and it slowly spiraled. I started just doing these gags every year for the Oscars where I would decide to make a song. This is my first one I did when Vine was still around. I wrote a full song with the joke being that, I wrote a song that was in the credits of The Winter Soldier, and it's nominated for an Oscar. And then eventually it spiraled, and it became a thing I sporadically do with videos on Twitter. It became my professional current writing job, and it became a thing that I do weekly with my best friend as part of a podcast. And it's so fun. It is so fun. I love it so much because I'm obsessed with comedy and I'm obsessed with music, and it makes me so happy to sort of get a place to work with both of them. And I think of both of them in terms of composition and how their pieces make the whole, and it's it's scary to say, but I think I'm good at it. I really do. And it's hard for me to admit, but I still am a lot of times proud of the comedy music I make. I still sometimes listen to my Childish Gambino Lando rap, and it makes me smile. I'm happy about it. Recently, last night, Open Mike Eagle gave a great talk. He's so, yes, please give it up for Open Mike Eagle. He's great. He gave an incredible talk, and he mentioned a thing about creating things that fill you with an intense uncertainty and how you know that's when you've made something good. And recently, I got a chance to actually make legitimate original music for an Old Navy commercial with Kristen Bell, and I genuinely felt so fulfilled in doing it. So much that lately I just started been thinking about just writing a full-length comedy musical where I can compose original songs and just make them funny and weave them into a story. But shortly after that job, a friend of mine who's here, hello, he'll know who he is in a second. I don't want to out him. He'd asked if I would ever consider making real original music with him, and my gut reaction was no, God no, never, not in a million years, absolutely not. Which is crazy because I know what kind of things I would want to make if I were to make serious art, I know the feeling of listening to a piece of music that really inspires me and just going, oh my God, I want to learn everything about it. I want to find the stems online. I want to pick it apart. I want to figure out how they do these things and play these instruments. I know the feeling of seeing a movie that really inspires me and deciding I need to see the DVD. I need to get all the extras and listen to the commentary a million times and go online and see all the B-roll that I can find on YouTube and just insulate myself in the experience of these things that inspire me. So why would I not try? Why wouldn't I try it for myself? And why would I jump in head first into that intense, fulfilling uncertainty of making real music? And the answer, which I hate to say in a 2,300-seat stadium, is that I am scared. I am legitimately scared. I am scared of so many things. I'm scared that I'm not good enough. And I'm scared that by saying I'm not good enough, that people will go, Demi, what? No, Demi, you're good enough. And then I'm scared that because I worry other people will assume that I'm saying I'm not good enough, so that other people will tell me I'm good enough. And then I'm scared that people internalize that assumption, and that people will see that I'm good while they think I'm not good enough. And then I'm scared that people will think, no, he's not just not good, but now that other people think he's good, he's now overrated. And then I'm scared that those people deciding that I deserve to be taken down a peg for daring to try and not being good enough are doing so because they consider me overrated for just trying and telling myself I'm not good enough. It is a crazy series of fears that are driven by anxiety, but it's real. And the worst thing is that I've seen it happen multiple times. I see people who I admire who try and do things earnestly on Twitter and on the internet in general, and they get ridiculed for no reason other than people think they're corny. And I always think, well, just ignore them, just move on. But because I see these things, I internalize that fear and tell myself that trying in any field where I'm not good enough, can't do it. And so much of Twitter and the internet's sense of comedy have morphed to embolden these people who make ironic, detached cruelty their personality and go after anyone who dares to try and do something and can't match up to a standard that these people set up for whoever. And when I see that, I shut down and decide that throwing myself into it is not worth it. But there's no growth in that. A while ago, I saw a tweet where somebody talked about how people making things on the internet cannot wait until their things are perfect, because they have to be trying and they have to be putting things out and sometimes failing because you don't have time to wait until it's perfect. You're not capable of seeing your own creations as perfect, and you're not capable of growing until you learn what doesn't work. And you need an audience to do that. For me, Twitter started out as that audience, but then I deeply internalized this fear of criticism and being targeted by assholes, and I let it push me away from Twitter entirely until I only let it exist as a place for jokes. I stopped doing serious work there for fear of criticism. I stopped getting open or vulnerable for fear of getting made fun of, and I don't even use my voice in an important way to support things that I truly believe in for fear that I'll do it the wrong way and get taken down by smarter people who are mad that I'm not a perfect activist. But that's not good. It's not good for any person. It's not good for comedy, because comedy cannot exist without the space between the laugh. To paraphrase The Incredibles, when everybody's special, no one is. And when everything is comedy, nothing is funny. It's a regular rule of comedy that letting a joke go away makes it even funnier when it comes back. So let's hope I'm fucking very funny when I come back to Twitter. But I think about this idea a lot. I mostly make the comparison with love and relationships, but to me it feels like agoraphobia in a way. For someone who stays inside habitually with agoraphobia, going into the sun is a stronger experience, and they're much more likely to get a sunburn. For someone who never gets to embrace love or a relationship, any romantic feelings you start to feel for somebody are magnified exponentially. You love more, and it feels like the most important thing in the world. And I often feel that the more that I use satire and comedy as the entirety of my personality, the more any attempt to stray into an earnest space terrifies me, or it makes me feel small, it makes me feel hurt. As I mentioned before, a lot of you know me from my fake Will Smith and Donald Glover rap videos, and the reason that I'm so compelled by these two people is because they're just extremely creative, extremely charming, pretty attractive, and extremely talented, and I want so much to be skilled in as many fields as they are. But I also think about the trajectory of their work and how they both had this period in their careers where they were trying to pull double duty as very goofy comedians and serious musicians. But their music had minor comedic elements to it, and because of that, so many people just looked at the music and decided that it was entirely goofy, because despite being serious and actually very difficult creative endeavors, which makes them great targets for satire, because satirizing them means you have to ape their goofiness while also putting in the real work to try and ape the skill that it takes to make that music in the first place. And as much as they are people I admire, I also worry about becoming like them that period of their life, where the only way people ever see me is as either goofy or either serious. Like there's no middle space. There's never a single person who can exist as both at the same time. When I was doing my podcast, Gilmore, guys, I noticed that our listeners slowly had a growing meta-attachment to us as the hosts. And it made me uncomfortable to the point that when we were done with it all, I was just like, I don't want to do the podcast anymore. And a lot of people were just like, what, why? Why would you not want to do it? And in my head, I was like, it doesn't make sense to keep it going. All the episodes are done, and I don't want to extend this longer than we need to. And I started realizing that I resented that people place so much importance only on us as a duo and stopped seeing me as an individual person who had interests in a life outside of the podcast and my co-host, Kevin. I started resenting that people who liked the podcast and felt close to us because they listened would only communicate with us through references to the podcast and to Gilmore Girls. It made me feel like a bunch of strangers refused to allow my life to exist separately from what they wanted and from this show that I wanted people to see as entertainment and comedy. And I couldn't understand or verbalize why this made me so upset, but I realized that it's because they were strangers reflecting my own attitude of comedy back at me. Because I get unreasonably upset when people insist on only communicating with me through jokes or references to my jokes, because I subconsciously know that that's exactly what I've been doing, allowing myself to only exist through the comedy I make. And I don't want to do that anymore, because it's not healthy. But that said, I do not want people to think that this means any of my comedy has like this strange, palpable sadness to it now. Because it doesn't. It is genuinely all produced out of nothing but joy and a desire to create and love. I just want to find a way to promote the spaces between that joy. I want to be okay with sadness and fear and accept them as emotions in my life and in my work. I don't want the internet to completely poison my sense of self. I honestly hope that I never, ever stop making goofy comedy, even in the smallest possible portions. I love it so much. Comedy and creativity are my greatest loves after Paddington Bear. And I want to be making comedy forever without burning out, if possible. I think a lot about this little guy, 13-year-old me, watching Arrested Development and getting viruses on his parents' busted ass Toshiba laptop because he's clicking on the wrong links on pirate websites. And I wish that I could go back in time and tell him 26-year-old Demi is still doing the same shit, but he's doing it out of love and not out of preservation. I want him to know that it's fine to cry and be vulnerable and get feelings hurt and fail, but I also want him to know that I'm really proud of him. I'm proud of the sense of exploration that he had and his love for tinkering and making people laugh, because it still makes him happy. And I hope that I can use it to make him proud too. So thank you so much for coming to what turned out to be a very public therapy session. This is... Oh. Thank you. Oh, wait, not yet. Not yet, sorry. This is... Oh, thank you. Thank you. This is, in fact, the end, but I don't know how to end a talk, and as I said before, I definitely don't know how to do something like this without giving it the brief respite of comedy. But there's one thing I do know how to end, and that's movies, because those end with an end credits rap. So I reached out to my good friend, Will Smith, to write an end credits rap for my talk. I'm gonna be real with you guys. I wrote this very late last night. It's not perfect. I'm exhausted. I haven't slept since. And that's okay, because failure needs to happen in public. I need to be okay with this. And also, this is a one-time live performance of a song that will never be recorded professionally, so I don't care. Fuck it. Without further ado, this is exit music for a festival talk.
Let's get it going. Woo! Ha-ha!
It's so slow. Well, that was my talk at the XOXO. They got a lot of great speakers coming up next, though. So don't leave your chair. We still got Hari, Jaomi, Mary, Naomi, Helen, Adam, and Claire. Man, those are incredible speakers discussing how they work with the web and its features. I talked about comedy and hiding what's inside of me, and then I did a comedy rap. Oh, the irony.
Go 1 minute without making a show.
Nope. When I was young, I taught myself tricks so I could make friends, and then it turned into this. See, the internet had provided my voice, and now I think it might have got me irony poison. The poison's like a crazy ulcer, it's killing me. So now I think about embracing vulnerability. But there's really one takeaway that you should consider, cause I'm still a little bitter. How the fuck are they gonna ban me from Twitter? Yo, fuck Twitter, that's right, I'm still mad at them. You really think I would commit a murder over Paddington? Come on. I would, but we'll discuss that after I figure out how to make art without laughter. Another thing that I discussed up here is how to open up online and face your fears. The fear of sincerity, the fear of shame, and the fear of failing in front of folks who wanna fuck with your name. And can I do it? At least with a try. Could I ever create without Big Willie style? Could I make something maybe instead of just remixing an existing song I love and know from Radiohead? Oh, wow, I already missed the intro. This is gonna be a real rap. Or am I obligated just to try and stay creative in the form that I've hated until I start to fucking hate it? I mean, I love and always will love comic endeavors. No, I missed it already. It's fine. Safety, talked about my anxieties and my ADHD. If I just made some music that you wanted to dance to, could I be seen as serious as women in pantsuits? Could I write a feature about grief, about needing little death for bits of comic relief? I don't know where I am. It's fine.
You can tell me yourself when my Twitter's unsuspended.
Haha, I'm kidding. Twitter safety's the best, right? That's why they only just got Alex Jones off the website. Well, now I'm done with the speaking. I got the clarinet again because the rent'll last for the weekend. I'm mimicking this, by the way. I never bothered learning. I still do not know how to play. Thank you.